My name is Mike Boschin, and I have the privilege of being both an owner and a board member of this incredible organization. Tonight, I also have the pleasure of serving as your MC as we take this exciting step moving forward together. Before we begin, I want to take a moment to recognize the incredible group of people we have in this room. To our players, who are the heart and soul of this club, your dedication and passion inspire us every day. To our coaches, managers, who work tirelessly to develop and guide these young athletes. To our parents, whose wavering support makes everything possible. To our sponsors, who believe in our vision and help bring it to life. To our special guests, who are here to celebrate with us and share our vision. And of course, to my fellow board members who have worked behind the scenes to make this club a reality. JJ Dallahan, Roxanne Sinisag, Terry Sawchuk, Anthony DeMeo, Sasha Trepevsky, and Vancho Cirovski. This meeting marks an important milestone for Windsor Soccer. We'll be sharing our vision, discussing key initiatives, and outlining the path forward for both Windsor TFC and Windsor City. But more than anything tonight, it's about coming together as a community. United by our shared passion for the game and our commitment to building something truly special here in Windsor. The meeting will be approximately 90 minutes, and we will have a short break at halftime. And tonight you'll hear presentations from experts in their fields, and we will reserve time at the end for question and answer period. So let's get started, enjoy the evening, and get ready for an exciting future ahead. Thank you for all being here. Thank you. So before we start with our first speaker, we just need to recognize a few key people in this room. We have our 2008 boys team, Anthony DeMeo and Tom Ventura, have been doing an excellent job recruiting an abundance of players to this club. Our 08 girls side, Luke Husbands, Liv Scott, and Jenny McMullen are new to us this year at TFC, and we thank you for taking the reins of this group. We're very excited to restart the female program again at the club. Anton Pikovic and Harris Rezepi will be guiding a very brilliant 2011 boys team. The 2012 team, coached by Harris and Leandro, will be building one of our youngest teams to be a future powerhouse. Jay Master Giacomo is our 2014 boys team coach. Jay is cementing the base of our organization for years to come. Our 2009 boys and WRSL League champs last year are being guided by Rob Spada, and welcome back Jamie Clark. This team is a force to be reckoned with in the province and soon will be future players of the L1 program. Special thanks goes out to JJ, our technical director who works tirelessly for the club and for the future of all these young athletes. We need to bottle that energy of his and infuse it in all of our players. I haven't found the off button for this guy yet. I know he's still working. Is JJ here yet? JJ. So also to our League One teams that consist of Gabe Polino, Chris Wire, Matt Wilson, and Vushko Kukovats. The future is very bright with these aspiring athletes that are looking to bring their skill to the next level and beyond. Gabe Polino has returned home to guide this program to a championship with an exceptional recruiting and coaching ability that he brought with him. So I'd like to thank all these people in this room for their hard work making the club what it is. Now for our first speaker of the night, it's with my absolute pleasure to introduce someone who has made a tremendous impact on the game, both on and off the field. A true champion for the soccer community here in Windsor, he has dedicated his time, passion, and expertise to growing the game at every level. As a player, he left his mark in the history books, leading his team in assists for 3 years in a row, a feat that hasn't been reproduced at Michigan State since he left. His vision, leadership, and playmaking ability made him a standout on the field, and those qualities continue to define his contributions to the sport today. Beyond his personal achievements, his commitment to developing players, supporting clubs, and elevating this culture in our community is something we're all grateful for. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Vancho Cirovski.
Thanks, Mike. I didn't know how far back he had to go to dig that up. Most assists at Michigan State University. Johnny Ferry tried, but it didn't work out for him. Anyways, thank you very much for coming today. We should have been doing this a long time ago. That is meeting with the parents and the players and talking about what our organization is trying to do in the community and what we have been doing and what we want to do. You know, the members of this club are the players and the parents. If this was any other business, the parents would be the customers. And we haven't engaged enough with the parents to let them know who is doing what in this organization and how are we going to go about doing it. So I wanted to make sure we got that across today in some ways. At the same time, we also have some great speakers, so I don't want to take up a ton of time, but this is an important message to be delivered. And Mike, thanks for putting this together. Mike came on board and he said, we got to get this message out to the folks. So here we are, we're going to make it bigger and better next time. Okay? So here's what our mission is. So you can look up on the webpage and it has a nice long sentence. It talks about uniting the community with pinnacle experience, providing the experience for pinnacle play. What it is really all about is about peak experience. That's a very a meaningful term to me, but it needs to get across to everybody that's involved in our organization. That means the coaches and the staff and everyone else. So peak experience is about moments. This is not a mission like landing somebody on the moon and then that's it. You've done it and you moved on. A mission is something that we will never quite accomplish and say that's it. This is about moments of joy, moments that are implanted in kids' brains when they've experienced them. So it is about the experience. And what is that peak experience? It means that when they have come to an event, a practice or a training session, or even here, you have left energized. You didn't leave the training session or the match or that engagement with the coach depressed and bummed out. It felt energizing. And you recall that as a player or as a coach very clearly down the road. In a nutshell, that's what we're trying to create, is moments of peak experience. That's our mission. And that's what we're going to ensure our coaches and our staff and everyone else that comes along understands. It's for the players, and it's for the moment that they are engaged with the club. So that's a very clear forward mission. In order to achieve that mission, though, we have to have a group of people that are building a high-performance culture. Now, this is not a simple effort. It might seem like that, and everybody's talking about cultures these days. But a high-performance culture has three ingredients that are very clear. First of all, it has a very defined set of values. But for us, it's a clear mission, which we have. It's about building consistency in everything we do. Challenging for our program, challenging for our community. But we are working towards that goal. Build consistency based on a set of values. And those are the values that we will impart to all of us and hold ourselves accountable for. And that is to be ethical in everything we do. We're not going to waste any of the fees that you pay. In fact, we're going to have to go out and secure more fees to deliver the message that we want to message, because it's not enough if we want to accomplish all the things we want to accomplish as a club. We're going to be ethical. Each of our coaches, everyone who's involved, has to have passion for the game. There's no other way to do about this. And we want to transmit that to all our players. Passion for the game, passion for performance, passion for improvement. That's the P. And we need to be innovative. We need to use the latest and greatest technology. We need to learn from CAPS. We need to learn from other people, but within the resource constraints that we have. So we need to be innovative. Not just as a club, but as a wider organization in a body. With the memberships and the partnerships that we have with Windsor Soccer Club, with Amherstburg, with Tecumseh, if and when we get there. And we need to get there. and with all the other clubs. We see representatives here from Leamington, from other places. This has to be a single community with a passion for performance so that our best players have a chance to advance, as our plan has been, along with Toronto FC or potentially our CPL. And we need to be collaborative, and that's the last message. Our values have to be epic. Collaborative because individually in this organization, in this community, we can't accomplish it. Okay, and this is the reason why we can't do that. Because at the entry level of youth competitive soccer, there are at least 7 or 8 clubs or brands that are pushing their weight in the game. They're committed. They have a lot of time that they've invested. They've got a lot of volunteers. But we have a soup of clubs that need to work much better together to serve the interests of our kids. We've said that. It's time for us to come together as a community to ensure that happens. Right now, there are 6,000 youth players playing at that level. In the I model or West Region model, there could be 10 teams, 12 teams, whatever that is, but there are 2 clubs invested there, Windsor TFC and Capotosto. At the next level, we have to come see the OPDL. But we also have a path to the US because of where we are and geographically. But we can't do this independently. We have to figure out how to do this together. And that's part of our mission, is to try to work that angle and unify us all. And of course, we have the University of Windsor, the college, and League One Ontario. League One Ontario has been around for 10 years. This is how this club started. We started as a League One Ontario club. And we pushed down because we needed the development, focus on the development. And now, we've got some amazing kids coming through. We have some amazing interest from coaches that are coming through. And what we need to do now is amplify this thing a ton more than where it is right now. We're not going to give up on what this region can do for soccer in Canada, not for our friends across the street. Okay? There's a lot of talk about trying to do things for ourselves these days, and we need to make sure we do the same thing in soccer. Okay? And of course, our ambition, and we're involved in this, we're going to bring a Canadian Premier League team to Windsor. Because that's the vision that every single kid should aspire to. They need to see that action on an amazing environment, green field, in the center of Windsor, or wherever we decide to be if we can get there, so that they can be inspired to play for themselves and for their community. So, while that's the process, what we need to is simplify. We need to get to this model. 3 steps to where we want to be as a community. Okay? And so, part of my messaging today is simply to say that we have work to do as a club. We have work to do as a community, and we have work to do as a board of the Essex County Soccer Association to support the development of our kids. I don't want to be here another 10 years from now telling you that, man, we missed another 10 years of opportunity to help these kids become professionals, because our ultimate goal, we've talked about mission, vision, values, our ultimate goal is to place kids on the national team. And do you think that this community can put 1 kid at least, or 2 kids on the national team? Yeah, absolutely we can. But we've got to be intentional with our development, not splintered. We need to focus our resources, and that's part of what we're trying to accomplish in the next little while. Okay? So I'm going to switch this over now because I think my brother's sitting around waiting for his part to talk about the landscape of soccer in the U.S. and in the college scene. So I want to stay on time, and I want to stay on schedule, and I'll come back later to wrap things up after our special guests have come through. Thank you for your attention, folks.
Hello, testing. So our next guest, it's with my great honor to introduce a true leader in Canadian soccer development. Someone who has dedicated his career to shaping the next generation of elite players. He is responsible for one of the most respected player development programs in the country, Under his leadership, the academy that he belongs to has become a pathway for young talent to reach the professional level, helping to produce some of Canada's top soccer prospects. His expertise, commitment, and vision have played a major role in the growth of the game at both the academy and professional levels. We're incredibly fortunate to have him here tonight with us. Please join us in giving a warm welcome to Anthony Capotosto, Academy Director at Toronto FC.
Okay. Thank you for having me here tonight. Special thanks to Vancho and to JJ. Every time I come here to Windsor, I have a fantastic time, so I keep coming back, and they keep showing me incredible hospitality, so thank you guys. This is the first time that I'm actually speaking to the entire club membership, players, parents, and coaches. And so I'm going to speak a little bit about TFC and some of the things that we're currently doing in the academy, and to speak a little bit about the partnership that we've had for several years now with Windsor TFC. So I'll start with this question here, and I'll ask the question, what does a top academy look like? And when I put this question up here, I'm not referring to the Toronto FC Academy as being a top academy, although we hope that we're doing the right things to be that. This is the objective look at what a top academy looks like anywhere in the world. And so when we talk about a top academy, these are the features or the things that are associated with a top academy. And there's a long list of things, and we could probably take an hour to speak about all the things that are listed up there. As a matter of fact, I met with the coaches for an hour earlier today to speak about this topic here, individual development, and we did a comprehensive presentation on that. Hopefully we get this working. There we go. But that's what a top academy looks like. And so you have to ask yourself the question, here at Windsor TFC, do we have all of these things in place? And at what level are they operating at? These are the questions that need to be asked about this particular slide. And so you can take an example of the philosophy of how you're developing players here at the club. Vancho talked about it a little bit, but you really need to get into the weeds of it. It's linked directly to something like your training methodology. And so how are you working with players on a daily basis, right? I'm not going to go through all of these, but those are the things that need to be considered. And so I'm going to give you the vision for the TFC Academy. It's a very simple sentence, and the words that you see highlighted in yellow are the most important. The success of the academy will be determined by four things: the structure that we build, the processes we implement, and the culture that we live, together with the people that we work with every day. That's what the academy is about. Obviously, there's a lot more detail, but this is how we simplify it in terms of our vision. And so this is our philosophy of player development. You may recognize a couple of those players that are up on the screen. One is Jaden Nelson, who's currently at the Whitecaps, and he just came back from Europe, and Luca Petrasso as well, that came through our academy. And so when we talk about a philosophy, again, it's a very simple sentence at the bottom there. It's to create the best environment for teaching and learning while surrounding our players with people who care. And specifically with caring adults that understand the responsibility of working with young players. So that's the philosophy for us. And so if I were to put up an ultimate goal for the academy and put a North Star in the sky in terms of something that guides our behaviors every day that we walk into the facility, it's this. It's to have a world-class player come through our pathway. We've never had that at TFC. We've had some very good players that have come through our pathway, and now we're looking for a world-class player. And so this is a player where you turn on the TV and watch play in the Champions League. It's a player that's playing for our men's national team, maybe representing Canada at a World Cup. This is the level of player that we're talking about. And so I wonder, as I look out here at some of the players, young or older, is the world-class player in this room? Maybe, maybe not. But this is what we're aspiring to in terms of what we're looking to do at the Academy. And there's a lot of other goals that are going to fall and come from this ultimate goal that we've set for ourselves. This will give you an idea of the pathway that we have in the club. And so right now we've got 4 teams in the Academy, U14, 15, 16, and 18. We have our second team that competes in MLS Next Pro, and then our first team that competes in MLS. And in the Academy, you can see that the 3 teams here compete in MLS Next in the first tier. And so we are traveling regularly into the US to play teams in New York, in the Northeast area. And a lot of times we're playing against other MLS opponents. And so the competition level is the highest that it can be in North America. Our under-14 team is competing right now in an OPDL Showcase Series. This is just to give you an idea of the pathway. But as I mentioned before, we shouldn't look at these like teams in the Academy. There's only one team at our club, which is the first team. And our job in the Academy is to bring players through our pathway to service the first team and get them into that environment. So this is a quick snapshot of our schedule and some of the events that we go to. We operate on a school year calendar, so our season actually starts in September. We've got a strong connection with Canada Soccer. Vancho mentioned the national teams. And so the national teams have an integration program with us where they come into our environment and we work directly with the national team staff. We do it twice a year. Once in January and another time in August. Otherwise, we've got major events, the Fest event in California. We've got the Generation Adidas Cup. We're about to go to that down in Florida. We've got a Flex event in Maryland, and maybe we'll go and see Sasha while we're down there. And then we've got the MLS Next Cup, which takes place in Nashville. It's the playoffs at the end of the season. So it's a pretty comprehensive schedule, a lot of competition, a lot of things that are going on. I spoke about the Generation Adidas event, so this is probably one of the preeminent tournaments in the world for youth soccer. Adidas has probably put in about $700 million into youth development, so they're taking it very seriously. And you can see some of the teams that we would be playing against at the GA Cup. And so you've got teams like Arsenal, Manchester United, Monterrey from Mexico. You've got teams from all over Europe that are coming. And so what they've done is created this competition platform now for players in MLS academies to compete in on a regular basis. So our approach to player development before was very team-centric. And so we would talk about how the team did on the weekend, and if the team did well, it meant that we were developing players. So we've moved away from this, and now we're really focused on this, a player-centric model when it comes to player development. And so really it's about the individual player coming through the pathway. We're not gonna promote entire teams to the first team, but we will pick out the highest potential players to send them on a pathway to the professional team. And this is what we mean when we talk about a player-centric model. And so as far as individual development is concerned, in the context of a pro academy, whether our academy at TFC or any academy across the world, soccer is an individual sport. And then when I say this, people look at me like I have 3 heads. I said this earlier today. Yeah, it really is about the individual. And so the question here at Windsor TFC, what are we doing to help individual players move forward with their development? And that individual plan is going to be different for every single player. And now I need to talk about this because really it's about the player taking ownership of their development. We hear a lot of rhetoric in the community about coaches that produce players, which is a bunch of nonsense. The players produce the environment, and in that environment, the player will produce himself or herself, right? And so this is what we talk about here at TFC. Players taking ownership of their development. And we use words like obsession when we talk about the players' drive and determination to propel themselves forward. And they really need to be obsessed with their development. And so I like using this image here to talk about the motivation of players. And I'll tell you the story of Wayne Rooney. We had the privilege of working with the coaches from Everton many years ago when they came here to Ontario. And I'll never forget the coach from Everton telling the story of Wayne Rooney and how at the age of 10, he would look the coach in the eye, firmly shake his hand and say, one day I'm going to become a pro. And that was the motivation that he had. And I'd like to use this analogy here, this metaphor of the carrot or the stick when it comes to your motivation. And now I'm speaking directly to the players that are in the room. And so when it comes to your motivation to develop yourself, is it somebody that's behind you with the stick, trying to motivate you, trying to get you out of bed, trying to get you to eat the right way, etc., etc.? Or is it the carrot that's in front of you, where you see the vision for yourself moving forward, and you're going to stop at nothing to achieve that goal? Yeah, what I can tell you statistically is the players that have the carrot and use the carrot to motivate themselves are the players that tend to play at the professional level. So it's a reflection for the players in the room. Are you the carrot or the stick when it comes to motivation? This is a sample of our weekly cycle in terms of training. And so you can see now how we have team sessions in addition to the individual sessions that we set up. And so when it's all said and done, a player in any given week could have as many as 7 sessions. If we include the S&C, we're talking about 8 to 9 sessions now for a player. And so this is the intensity with which we need to work if we're being serious about development. We're very lucky to work with Ashton Morgan. You may remember Ashton Morgan as a first-team player for TFC. He is now working exclusively in the academy, and the specific focus for him is on individual player development. And he's working with our highest potential players in the academy. We also have our academy staff that's working as well, and we have a rotation of coaches that are on field on Tuesday mornings at 7 a.m. and in the afternoon at 3 p.m. This has got nothing to do with the team sessions. This is in addition to. So when I talk about the motivation, how motivated are you at 7 a.m. in January in minus 20 weather to wake up at 5 to get yourself to the facility to train in an IDP session for an hour, then go to school, then come back to the facility at 4 and participate in a team session? These are the demands that we're putting on our players in the academy. And so this is a little bit about the what, in terms of what we're teaching and how we're going about it. And so everything starts with individual intentions. And so every player at any given moment in the game has an individual intention. Those individual intentions are linked to principles of play. And so I've listed them there for you in green and in yellow: attacking, defending, and in transition moments. That's directly linked to a team intention or our tactics, and obviously linked to the objective of the game. Right? And when I ask this question, it's amazing the answers that I get back. What is the objective of the game? You hear things like to keep possession of the ball, to connect passes, this kind of thing. Yeah. The objective of the game is to score one more goal than the opponent. That's the objective of the game. But all of these things are working together in unison. And this is what we're teaching our players in the academy. This is essential content or essential skills. We call them principles of play that our players need to understand in order to progress to the next level. And ultimately what we're trying to influence, 2 things: the players' behaviors and then their habits. Can they do things well 10 out of 10 times? We're not in the business here of trying to change people's personalities. When the players come to us, it's okay for them to be who they are, but we are trying to influence their behaviors, both on and off the field. And I put this slide up here so that everyone can understand that the pathway in the academy is not a smooth one. And so we've got 2 players here, player 1 on the left and player 2 on the right. What I can tell you is that player 1 doesn't exist. Where a player comes into the academy and it's smooth sailing all the way to the first team and has signed $1 million contract. Never happens, and never will happen. It's more like player 2. You may have seen this graphic before. When we talk about player 2, we're talking about the reality of player development, in terms of the amount of adversity that you're going to face. So there's going to be challenges, obstacles, setbacks, injuries, etc. that you're going to experience. The number one value that I can give you as a young player that's developing is the value of perseverance. Because you're going to need a high level of perseverance, resiliency, and grit to get through the pathway if you're talking about becoming a professional. But it looks more like on the right than what it does on the left, just so we're clear, right? And in terms of player pathways, I'll show you a number of different pathways that exist. And we'll start on the very left-hand side here. So imagine a player that's playing youth soccer, and it could be a player at Windsor TFC that tries to go this pathway here into a Tier 1 European pathway to end up playing for Manchester City's first team. Good luck. Not impossible, but extremely difficult to achieve that. Extremely difficult. The next one over here, a second-tier team in Europe, maybe more feasible than the first one, but still extremely difficult to do. It's not unheard of for players to do that. But again, very difficult to end up in Belgium, let's say, and play for a team like Ghent. It happens. What I'm finding now, and what we're seeing through the data, is that this pathway has become the most secure pathway for players in Ontario. Coming into the academy, being in MLS Next, then graduating to the second team, playing in MLS Next Pro, featuring for the first team at BMO Field, and then if the player is good enough, Manchester City will come knocking on the door, asking for the player to come. That's a secure pathway. Now the difficulty with this is that there's a very small percentage of players that will have this pathway to pro. And so we have to care for all of the players in our academy and provide other outlets for players. And so we have players that are playing in the USL that have come through the TFC Academy. We have players that are playing in the CPL that have come through TFC. Numerous players that have had scholarships to the NCAA. And now those players, some of them are coming back on the pro pathway. And then of course we have League One and we have youth sport as well as a pathway. The point being is that if a player comes through our door, we have to do everything that we can to provide a pathway for them, with the understanding that the pro pathway is for a very small percentage of players. And now our affiliate program. And so this is a very important program for us, and obviously the work that we've been doing over the years here at Windsor. There are really three objectives when it comes to the affiliate program. The first one is to identify players from this environment to bring to the TFC Academy. That's the number one reason why we have this affiliation set up. And then we can talk about providing coach education. As I mentioned, we just did an hour workshop together with the coaches here. And then finally, to expand the brand in the province. This is the reason why we have the program set up. And so here are the opportunities now for the affiliate club. And so we can talk about the talent ID. And so we have a manager of talent ID at the club that works directly with the affiliates to understand the talent that's coming through. We talked about coach education, player development, player pathways, and now competition and training opportunities. There's going to be a handful of players from Windsor TFC that's going to be coming to the BMO training ground next week to participate in our March break camp. And so we've got players across 5 age groups that we're going to be working with directly on field with our technical staff. We also have the Affiliate Super Cup that we have set up, where Windsor TFC has participated in. And then finally the BMO Challenge Cup, if you qualify for it in December. This is just an idea of what I spoke about before, different pathways. And so what you see up here is last year's U18 team, 18 players going on scholarship to top NCAA schools coming through the academy. 18 players, almost the entire team on a scholarship to a D1 school in the US. On the right-hand side, you see the number of players in the CPL. All of these players here, despite what you may not hear in the media, all came through TFC Academy. Right? And these players have graduated and gone on to play in different environments. There's probably about 25 of them on the list. And here's some examples of players that have signed pro contracts with the club. We have contracts that were signed in 2024 for our second team. These players here. And just recently, like literally last week and maybe yesterday, 3 players graduating to the first team and now competing at the first team level, and you're probably going to see them at some point in the season. We've got other players here that have featured for the U17 national team. And as I said, our partnership with Canada Soccer through the integration, the players are right there in front of all the national team coaches for selection into the national team program. Here's a picture that just recently took place. 5 of our academy players, 2008, they were down in Bermuda for World Cup qualifying, and Canada has qualified for the U17 World Cup that will take place in Qatar in the fall. And we have 5 of our academy players that were part of that team. So we're very proud of them for that. I'll just finish off with this. I'm not sure what happened with it, but there was a slide up there where I had a collage of players just to show the different success stories that we've had. Players that have signed contracts in Europe, players that have started in the academy, played for the first team, and now being traded to another MLS team. We talked about the national team call-ups. A player by the name of DeAndre Kerr, playing at Syracuse University for 2 seasons, and then being brought back into the pro player pathway, signing a homegrown contract. Theo Corbiano, thank you. Theo Corbiano is a player that just came back from Europe, was in our academy for about 3 years, was playing in the Premier League at one point, got loaned out to a number of different clubs, and now is featuring for our first team. This is an academy player that came through our doors, right? And so this is the definition of success for us in the academy. We'll place players in pro environments, but we have pathways for every player in our program. And so, again, I'll ask the question for the players that are in the room, are we going to be adding a player from Windsor TFC to this collage in the near future? I hope so, especially if I look over here at these young players that may have the opportunity to come through our pathway in the academy. So with that, I'd like to thank everyone for having me tonight. Happy to stay behind and answer any questions that you may have. But at this time, I would really like to invite Mike and Vancho to come up, because we have a special gift from the club that I wanted to bring specifically for tonight to celebrate this wonderful evening with you. So Vancho and Mike, this is on behalf of TFC and for Windsor TFC.
Oh, come on.
Ready? Excellent. Thanks,
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. We'd like to take a 5-minute break right now. There's pizza along the side wall there for the kids who are hungry. The bar is open.